Got it? Good. Call clickgranger.com/safety or stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Charles Osgood. Dell is proud to support small businesses with reliable, award-winning technology powered by Intel Core processors and created to give your business 4 times faster performance and cut downtime by 50%. During Small Business Month, enjoy 35% off select business PCs and get free shipping and advice from Dell's dedicated experts. Visit Dell.com/radio to discover how they can help you to do your best work. Intel inside, powerful solution outside.
Welcome to another version of Younger Life Live. Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Federici.
And I'm Mary Anthony.
It is a great day to be here with you. You're always smiling, always energized. You're
nice.
feeling healthy and young.
That's right. My van's still clean. I feel great.
You know what we should do? Day one. The van stays clean.
Day one was yesterday.
Okay,
Thank you. Day two.
Day two. The van?
Still clean.
Yeah! Now, do you
nice.
freak out after spending that kind of cash to the kids? Do you say, okay,
a
children,
little.
for about the first 3 days?
Yeah. I said, at least for a few days, we are not eating in the van. And by kids, you would think I grounded them.
Yeah.
They're like, what? I can't snack.
You got to remember, that's not only your second home and your husband Jeremy's second home. It's your children's second and third home.
Oh, I know. We're there. We're literally in our van all the time.
Right.
So I said, no, we won't eat in the van, at least not for a couple days.
Yeah.
So, you know what? And they were so excited that it was it was clean.
Beautiful.
So did
you get that air of, did they say like the whole?
Oh, they opened the doors and they're like, oh, this looks great. It smells so good in here.
Yeah.
They loved it.
And this is you. And please, let's keep it that
Yes.
way. Or was it, and your father and I spent a lot of money and time.
I just said, and we're going to at least keep this up for a few days. So, it's funny. My eldest daughter,
Day
she's 15
two.
and a half. Yeah. She said, this is what I want my car to always look like.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, I give it a week.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, let me ask you this. Speaking of Younger Life, does your daughter, and she's 15, so obviously she's getting ready to get her, does she have her permit yet?
She already has a permit.
Okay,
She's
awesome.
almost 16. So
Is she take after mom or dad? Which one of you is I'm going to use this loosely and no rip on anybody, the clean one or the crazy one, for example?
I think we're very similar. Jeremy and I both are.
Okay, and
in
that
the
is
fact
what?
that we are, we love neat and order, but we
Okay.
are so busy that we say we'll get to it later. I was giggling about you and Mary Gelati talking about making your bed every day. I have to tell you, this
Oh
is
my
what's
gosh,
funny.
you have to make your bed.
No, we don't. We have a bed full of kids by morning. At least one or two have straggled on in. And, by the time we get up and get hustling around, I might pull the blankets up, but it's like not neat and tidy. I prefer that.
Right.
It just doesn't always happen.
Wait, it's not fair. You have to start your day out. I bet you if I threw it out 219-861-1632 and said to anybody listening or viewing, do you make your bed and how does it make you feel? That's the way your day should start. So there's the Federici to Anthony challenge.
Yeah.
Make your bed, darn it.
That would be
That'll
rough,
last
you know?
about 3 days.
Yeah,
Day
no
3.
kidding. It is nice when it gets done. It does
awesome.
feel good to start your day like that. But that's pretty much how everything works. That's why. So our kids are very similar as far as they like neat and tidy also. But it just gets so hectic that we end up going, okay, it's fine, whatever. You know what? So once a week, I'm like, you have to clean all of these dirty clothes out of your room and.
Yep.
Try to pick up and whatever. So we
And
do that.
sometimes sooner, if mom walks in there and goes, okay, wait, this is not in mom's book here. Get this thing clean.
Or even like last weekend was such a soggy weekend.
It sure
rained
was.
nonstop.
Sure.
And we had a lot of still sporting events in the rain and everything. So you don't throw your wet clothes in a pile.
Ever.
And you certainly don't throw them on the carpet, and you certainly don't throw them on the other dirty clothes in the bathroom.
Or
they
on
have
a wood
to be
floor.
alone. Yeah, absolutely. You can't do that. So those things I'm a little bit more of a stickler about. But, the car thing, they always have good intentions. I actually keep a little wicker garbage can in my van because we need it. But we had taken it out recently because we had taken it on it was full of sidewalk chalk. So
Okay.
we were letting the kids use it. It was like their little bucket to put on
Sure,
the sidewalk
got it.
chalk in. And so because it wasn't in there, I find all of them, even my oldest, who claims that she wants the spick and span vehicle, stuffing garbage like she's
Under the seats?
Well, no, like in the pockets of the doors.
Oh.
She's just, and I go, when you're cleaning that junk out, I don't want to. That's nasty. I don't care if it's a granola bar wrapper. I don't want to touch it.
Wow,
whatever.
Mom.
So
For a woman that gave birth with 5 children.
Oh, I clean up a lot of nasty stuff, but I definitely don't need to worry about
You don't go
your
there,
food
Federici.
wrappers.
Oy.
I definitely have developed a stronger stomach over the years for that. Anything all
right, so I'm going to
nasty,
throw this
but-
out to you, and I think you're going to appreciate this. So I'm glad that you and Jeremy are organized and clean folks.
Not so much,
And
but
I'm glad
could
a
be.
couple of your young ones really have the Rick Federici-isms, because here's how it works for my family. Norma, you go into her car right now and it still smells like the original fresh. You cannot do anything in her vehicle, and she is meticulous. That's awesome.
Does she
Carly,
not take her coffee or anything in there?
she does, but you're going to laugh at this. She has a stopper in her coffee, and then she has her own coffee mug she brings
Yeah.
to work. She leaves it closed. She will not sip in the car.
She
takes
won't.
it into work.
Wow.
Because she likes the way we have our coffee, not to be weird, but she
Yeah.
likes our coffee, and puts her own little Italian cream in it. And at work, she works with too many people where it's a community fridge, and I don't like,
Yeah.
I would not want to leave my stuff open just because that's the way I am, and that's me. Now, Carly's the exact same way as Mom, so her Jeep is awesome. Devin, whoa. She's
Really?
like Dad. And again, I am an organized, clean man, I feel.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest with you. I do
Oh.
1,500 miles a week between 3 states on a constant daily basis.
Yeah.
Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, constant.
Yeah.
And then some through Chicago
Yeah, oh,
constantly.
absolutely.
So I live in my truck, and it is what it is.
I know. That's it. I mean, please, you can almost always dig up another outfit in the van or, just
You're hitting
food, water bottles. I mean, it's just crazy.
This just happened 2 days ago. I can't believe you said that. I said to my wife, because it's been soggy in the Midwest, and at the radio stations that I own and work at, some of the properties are very squishy. So I have my boots, and I couldn't find my cool boots that I use for the winter because, it's crazy snow, crazy
Yeah.
spring, everything. So I say to my wife, I'm doing one of those guy things. And guys, you know what I'm talking about. I'm like, I'm getting mad. I'm like, I don't know where my boots
Yeah.
are at. And I hear my daughters, they're like, Dad, come on, look in that garage, look in the house. As mentioned on the shoe show here, there's the women have all their stuff. Well, I've got my couple pairs of dress shoes, my 2 or 3 pairs of gym shoes, the outside gym shoes to work on the yard, and then my boots. My wife yells from upstairs, did you check your truck? I am not kidding you. Where do you think my boots were?
Were they really in there?
In the back of my truck underneath a blanket.
How awesome. See, look how prepared you were. See, you shouldn't be embarrassed by that. You should say, look how prepared I was in the
Yeah.
winter, just in case I got stranded. I love that. That is funny.
I think like all the ladies in my life, including my co-host, you're going to say, okay, see, there you go, smart guy. Look in your truck.
I do love to be able to prove someone wrong.
Of course.
Yeah, there it
Of
was.
course.
But, I think bravo you. At least you were prepared in the
Thank
winter.
you for sticking up for
You
me.
just forgot.
Thank you. Woo! High five.
Yeah, we have a little bit of everything in the van, but not right now. So that's nice.
Good.
But yes, that's nice. So today it is Ask a Pharmacist Day. It's
Awesome.
fantastic.
I love this segment.
Cindy, who has been joining us, is actually covering somewhere else. She's actually covering, I think, at Stark Hospital today. So she's unable to join us, but we have Jeremy Blosser today.
Oh, awesome.
And I
a
know
guy perspective.
A guy, yeah. I know it'll be nice.
awesome.
So we have that, and he's going to be joining us soon. But we wanted to go over a few of the upcoming, there's a lot of current things going on that the hospital has going on that the public should be aware of because they can participate. First of all, I want to touch base on one that happened last night that I was actually at, and we're going to try to show some of that footage at a later date. But the hospital, LaPorte Hospital, partnered with the LaPorte Foundation, and EMS. They were donating 10 AEDs, which are the defibrillators, to 7 local schools and universities. And,
awesome.
It's very important, and of course we all know it's important, and we all hear of terrible, tragic stories in our own areas too. It certainly isn't just it is nationwide, but it isn't just other states and
I agree
and other
with you.
places where athletes or someone at a sporting event collapses and where an AED is necessary. And some of I was reading right before the show just some of the background and not really research, more just stories. And this year alone there were just so many lives affected by a student collapsing after practice in gym class. Any sport. There was a speaker last night, and he was a ref at a basketball game and collapsed, and his life was saved because he was shocked within the first 2 minutes. And so that was really touching. And again, I can't wait to share that with you, but it was important. And it was nice that all of these places that were receiving them had a representative there just to, take picture and smile and get to take the AEDs to their areas. So I think it's really cool, something that they're doing. And again, we'll definitely talk about this again, but along with the EMS there, the hospital and the foundation are having these AEDs registered, so they are helping to service them and to be able to kind of keep tabs on these. And EMS they're like plotting them out and also 911 type calls, so they can see the areas of the county and that maybe have an increased risk, and maybe there aren't enough AEDs there. So they're working. When they started distributing AEDs, they started with hospital, and then they went to physician networks, and now they're branching out into the community. And I think it's really, really important. It was a very cool thing they did, and so that happened last night. And again, we'll touch base more on that. I know there's
some real cool stuff going on, right? Which I want to throw out because you and I love our music.
Absolutely.
And we know how music can universally, but also locally, but in your heart and in your mind, can really get into your psyche in the younger part of life and really kind of focus on, and it's great for
so
therapy.
Good for you.
It really is.
So good for you on so many levels.
So I want to throw this out there because we want to invite you, Younger Life Live, along with our great partners at the LaPorte Hospital. The next session of First Friday is actually tomorrow, and it's going to be happening in the chapel. Now, this is going to be happening at the LaPorte Hospital off of Lincoln Way, 1007, and it's going to feature really cool solo new age piano music from a local musician and composer. Now, this person, a lot of you may know of locally, Kimberly Ebert, well known as an entertainer at Frankie's Other Place in Union Pier, Michigan, which is a hop, skip, and jump away. Ebert is working on writing and recording some new songs following her first 5-track album called Nostalgia. If you're familiar with that, it was released last summer, July 2014 to be exact now. New age music is a genre of music, so those folks that are kind of wondering about really what does that entail, intended to create artistic inspiration, relaxation, and optimism in a peaceful atmosphere. I love it because you could, utilize it when you're working. Maybe you're traveling in your car. Maybe you're out on your boat. Maybe you're riding your bike. You're
Doesn't
cycling.
That sound so nice?
It is really cool. This is Ebert's third appearance in the chapel, and backed by popular demand, of course. The program begins at noon at the LaPorte Hospital, and that again is at 1007 Lincoln Way, and it's all about body, mind, and spirit. It truly is.
It really, and it's so neat. It's such a neat thing too. It's free. Again, important to point out that it's free. another cool event if you get a few minutes to go and check it out. Stay, even if you only have a few minutes. I think
And
that's
where
really
should they
cool.
be eating there, young Mary Anthony?
I definitely say hit Cafe 1007 downstairs.
Yeah.
It is super. Grab lunch and go on up and check it out.
And then they encourage you, by the way, to bring your lunch.
Absolutely.
And it's right, you're literally a couple stairs up, couple stairs down.
Yep. And the front desk is always willing to guide you anywhere you need to go. But if not, there are signs posted to the chapel. If you haven't ever been, it's beautiful. Check it out. So. And music
I'm so
in there,
excited
is
about
just
that.
peaceful and nice.
One of the other things I wanted to throw out there too, we had a couple of emails. You and I had mentioned Tour de Laporte with the foundation.
Yeah.
I want to throw this out there because again, this is coming up in August, and you can get more information on YoungerLife.org. If you'd like to join us, I will absolutely be broadcasting with Mary from there, but we will also be competing and I say competing, I'm going to be cycling with my wife, and I know you and Jeremy. Yes, we'll be doing 25 miles.
I haven't made Jeremy commit to it, but
Jeremy,
I said I'm going to.
Jeremy.
I haven't made him sign on the dotted line and say I am doing it.
Are you doing it?
I am.
Awesome.
I want to do. I saved I got a pre-registration thing emailed to me, so I saved it. I haven't done it yet because I was debating between 25 or 40, but to be completely honest, 25 for me is plenty.
You know what?
It
Go
really
25, and if you want to continue with the 40, do the 40.
Yeah.
I'm doing 25 with Norma for sure. Everybody wants me to do a 100.
I know. I remember when they brought that up.
I keep saying it.
Yeah, no.
It's like, guys, I'm going to try to do it. By the way, I'm out there cycling still, whether it's on my trainer.
Ooh,
in
hopefully
this
this weekend you will be.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be so nice. One more thing I wanted to point out real quick.
Please.
We mentioned bone density screenings yesterday. They're still, the hospital's doing these, and it's a mobile unit. So they're going to different locations. The screening is simple. It takes 10 minutes. It actually only involves like placing a bare foot into this machine. And then, so they can help you out with bone loss. Osteoporosis, we know, is such a big,
Yes, it is.
a big deal, especially in women as we age. Being Mother's Day weekend, not a bad idea to say, hey, think about that for a second and try to check it out. They did have one yesterday at the PAC Center in LaPorte, which is cool. I hope a lot of people made
Now,
that.
do we have some upcoming, don't we?
There is actually one tomorrow. That's why I wanted to bring it back up again.
Please, yeah.
Tomorrow at Bailey's Discount Center in North Judson from 1:30 to 3 p.m. The mobile
Awesome.
unit will be there. No pre-registration or anything is required. A lot of people, as far as bone loss and osteoporosis, they have no symptoms until they have a broken bone. And it can be a broken bone from something very, very simple. It can be, bumping into the counter unnecessarily. It doesn't have to be anything major injury. So it can be a big deal. And so why not get a free screening when you have the chance, especially when it's important and it's convenient, it's mobile, it's going to be all over. So the next location, these are just the next 2 weeks, I'm going to say. So tomorrow, Bailey's Discount Center, 1:30 to 3 p.m. May 10th, which I believe is Wednesday or Tuesday.
Let's see. Today is May 5th. So let's see. We've got
10th.
May
It'll be Tuesday.
6th.
Tuesday's the 10th. Yeah, I had to
there you
think
go.
about it a second.
Thanks. Really nice to put me on the
Mother's
spot there.
Day is Sunday,
Which is the 8th.
which is the 8th. That's what
So
I'm
that
saying.
means
It's Tuesday.
the 10th is Tuesday.
Yeah.
Terrific
so
Tuesday.
Tuesday, the 10th, they will be at the Michigan City Goodwill.
Oh, good.
This mobile unit to come get your bone, your foot in this
Wait,
machine
can I
will help
ask
you out
a
with bone
question?
loss.
When
Yeah.
we did Running with Scissors, was that those guys were there? The Running with Scissors event at the Civic, because you put your foot in that contraption and then they play around with it, right?
Well, yes, and it's to check for brittle bones and bone
Right,
loss.
and then there was
Testing.
They were, and we actually.
I feel like I hear something slightly.
We missed
Yeah.
that one.
I
But this would be
watched.
cool. Right, I know it's neat. So I would love to do that too. I think that would be important. It's not going to hurt. Nothing. It's pretty simple. So that's actually.
You're going to
Tuesday.
love this. Is the doc taking questions? And I said yes on this text, but I also have double text instantly. One of them was about tanning lotion to ask the doc. They have a ton of tanning lotion left over from last year.
It's funny. We actually had a listener before that had sent in a question. Because this is an ongoing segment, bi-weekly, having an Ask the Pharmacist.
yes,
Not a
great.
doctor, but Ask the Pharmacist.
Hello?
Agree. We're not
And-
doctors.
Yes, but someone did ask
heard
about.
that time.
I was trying to look for that. I saved them so we can ask the next time.
was the
And there
difference?
was one about spray tans. Is it safe? And are they
that's a
regulated
great
and stuff?
question.
So that really ties into that one. So
Well-
I think you want to see if we have him.
Yeah, I think we do.
Oh,
Let's
good
throw on
deal.
our headsets.
Okay.
Here on
It's
Younger
Ask the
Life.
Pharmacist. You can still get any questions in that you have, by the way.
Yeah,
so
and by
please
the
feel
way,
free
if you
to.
exactly, if you guys want to give us a buzz, we would be more than happy to, take those calls in at 219-861-1632. You think the person that's filling in today is going to like how crazy we are?
Yes,
or what do you
I think. I hope I haven't scared him off. I've called him a couple times. so.
Yeah. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Younger Life, of course, AM 1420 WIMS, always streaming, of course, on that radio side of life as well. Let's go to our wonderful guest, Mary Anthony. Who do we have with us today there, young
We
lady?
have Jeremy Blosser.
Jeremy, how are you,
you
buddy?
there?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing really well.
Good morning.
Jeremy in the house.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. So let me ask you this question before we kick into this great Ask the Pharmacist segment, which we absolutely love. People rave about it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a morning guy? Is this a normal time for you? Are you an afternoon guy? Tell me about your life. Tell me about you.
Tell me about me. All
Yeah.
right. Well, first, I just want to say hey to everybody. My name is Jeremy Blosser. I'm a pharmacist here at the hospital. I've been with the organization for almost 4 years now, so it's been fantastic, and I've really enjoyed this journey. I've learned a lot here, and it's been great. Of course, I have 2 kids. I have a little girl who's 2.5, named Sylvia, a 3.5-year-old named William. So I very much am a morning person. They make me
Nice.
be a morning person. So they're always up early, and so that gets us up early and gets us going in the day.
I have to tell you, young man, I love this. For those of you watching up on youtube.com right now, you could also podcast these bad boys. It is so great. That age, we both know, having
know.
children.
Have fun.
Mine, by the way, are 22 and 18. And your ages are what there, Mary?
We have 15, 13, 11, 6, and 4.
Isn't that unreal?
Wow.
It's
Look at him.
fun.
Wow.
It's so much
Wow.
fun, though. I mean, that 2.5 and 3.5-year-old age is just so much fun, though. You really see so much personality in them. I love that.
And let me ask
fun.
you, obviously your little guy's probably just, just wonderful as well. But the little girl, I have 2 girls. Is she a daddy's girl totally, or how does that work?
Yeah, I would say she's more of a mommy's girl.
Oh, that's cool.
We
I
we
love
do get
that.
along, but sometimes we are at odds with one another.
Oh, of course. Dude, that doesn't change.
That 2.5, they think they're going on, 22.5. So yes, I see that.
But daddy, and then they give you those beautiful eyes or that I love you, and it's like, oh, how
Well,
could I
whatever
even
you
be-
want.
Yeah, whatever you want.
She has my
fun.
heart, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
I
It's
love
so
that.
great to have you. Thank you for your time today. Okay, so what we do is we throw out questions from the audience. We ask you, obviously, you kind of answer as you see fit. One of the questions that I'd like to start with, Mary, if you don't mind,
Sure.
has to do with this season right now. The one part of it was, if you wouldn't mind answering this, when should we start using suntan lotion?
Are you meaning black?
Yeah, like
Okay.
block and stuff going on right now, that's a great, and I'm glad you brought it up that way. And then number 2, folks are saying, I've got stuff left over from last year. Is it still good? So can you kind of expand a little bit on that question, if you wouldn't mind? That's where we're going to start today.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. I would actually say that there is no season for sunblock, and that you should probably be using it all the time.
Good point.
So now I know that in winter that we're typically covered up more, but if you do have skin exposed to the sun, anytime during the season, there's always going to be a risk from the ultraviolet rays from the sun. So I would say all season is the season to use it. Now we typically are outside more in the summer, and we have our shirts off, and our skin is greatly exposed, is exposed more greatly. So I would say all the time you should be wearing sunblock, at least to some degree. As far as to whether your sunblock is good from last year, I would say that your sunblock is probably fine from last year. I would check the container for an expiration date. I believe all those products do have an expiration date
They
on
do.
them.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I would probably use my sunscreen from last year. Absolutely.
Okay.
Ooh, I like that. Well, I mean, that helps a lot of people, because a lot of us, depending upon, because I have to, just so you know, and I use me as the example where I have my skin checked, and I've said this on the, on the show many times, because cancer runs in my family. I'm a very pale, light kind of guy. And for me personally, I have to watch my freckles. I have to watch my skin. So that helps me, because I literally, as we all know, I've brought this up, I typically put on 50 block ish. and I don't care if I get color. I just want to stay healthy,
Right.
and I just want to live.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
that?
No. Well, I mean, you're very proactive in that. I think that's a good point too. I'm curious to know about, this is something we've talked about before, reapplying sunblock. Obviously, like you said, Jeremy, we're have a lot more skin exposed in the nicer weather. You know, whether you're in a tank top or whether you have no shirt on, whatever. As long as you're wearing sunblock, how often should you actually be reapplying it, and is it different for adults and children?
Yeah, so I think the best place to probably start there would be to look at the actual product labeling. I do know that some sunblocks out there say that they can go, for a few hours. Some claim that they're water resistant. I do know that the FDA does control all of the labeling of sunscreens and sunblocks, and nothing can be labeled as a true sunblock, and nothing can be labeled as actually waterproof. So there is no such
Okay.
thing as a waterproof sunblock out there. So
Okay.
I think a good general rule of thumb would be to apply it every couple hours. If you're at the beach and you're in and out of the water a lot, water is going to rinse off the sunblock more rapidly. So I would say that you may want to apply it even more often than that if you're out in the water, or if you're doing intensive labor outside, doing some landscaping or some gardening, and you're doing some sweating, it is going to wash off. So
Okay.
I would definitely keep some of the activities that you're doing in mind as far as to how often you should apply sunblock.
Okay.
And just one thing about sunblock too, and this actually goes back to sort of the previous question with the expiration date, is that the compounds aren't as stable as maybe other compounds and other medicines, so they do break down more quickly. So
Really?
even though I say it's fine to use sunscreen from last year, just keep in mind that those compounds may break down more quickly. And so the expiration date is even, I would consider it more important to follow that.
Really? So in that case, then you would, if you are using last year's, perhaps you should be reapplying more frequently than you would
Yeah.
a brand new bottle, right?
I still think that 2 hours is probably a fair reapplication.
Okay. Well, good. That's good to
That's
know.
excellent.
And while we're
Wow.
talking about
Yeah.
sunscreens and sun tanning and getting color, as you said, Rick, we had a question from a listener. If actually it was before last time even. So they wanted to know, as shorts weather approaches, many people use those spray tans. You find them in lotions or even the aerosol ones. Are these safe? Are these chemicals safe? And are these actually tested by FDA?
Yeah, so the spray tans are going to follow under the same thing that a sun screen does.
Okay.
And so it's basically the exact same chemicals. It's just in a different vehicle that may be easier to spray. So I would say that is perfectly fine. And then to just touch on adults versus children, adults are older, they've been in the elements, their skin's thicker. It's going to be able to handle the elements a little bit better. So as an adult, you can probably go a little bit longer without applying sunscreen.
Okay.
But young children have very fair skin. It's not real thick. It's still growing. It's easier to damage. So I would say that for sure, stay on target every 2 hours for kids.
Okay.
More often if they're running in and out of the water.
That's great information. I think what I mean, I think what the listener meant, with the spray tan stuff is the stuff that you see that this is at least what I took from the question.
Sure.
That it's the stuff that you spray to make you look tan.
Oh, the fake stuff that
Like
makes
the
you look
fake-
orange.
Oh.
Like
Oh, the
it's saying,
orange
is
stuff.
that? I think that's what they meant, because they were saying as shorts weather approaches, many people are using these spray tans, is how they worded it, spray tans. So I don't think it means block or screen.
I was thinking like, okay,
So, are
sunscreen
those
spray is what I was
chemicals?
thinking.
Are those chemicals safe, and are they tested by FDA?
I'm not sure if they're tested by FDA.
I don't know either. I can't imagine. I mean, personally,
would
I didn't
have
think
to
they
check
were.
into
but-
that.
Okay. I was just curious. So your own personal opinion. I mean, I would just be afraid of making my own self orange. So
Can I
I've
tell
always
you,
avoided that.
That's one of the reasons I would love to be a nice color from the
yeah,
sun.
I would be
naturally.
way too afraid to do
I
that.
have tried that stuff.
You
and
have?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I turn orange.
Okay.
And then you're more embarrassed because then you're like you can't get rid of it.
That's what I would be too afraid of.
saying?
That's why I wouldn't do it. I would be
Crazy.
too afraid to try
Right,
it.
it's like,
Just because I don't want people to
And
go, oh wow.
mix it with the red hair. They'd be like,
funny.
dude, what's up with you? Like, are you from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? An Oompa Loompa boy?
So to that listener, as far as are they safe and are they tested? We will definitely keep that question on our list and go from there. So,
well, let me throw this out there to you, Jeremy. Mark is listening right now in Wanata, Indiana, and he emailed us asking about, and this is a really good question because I didn't think about it until he emailed, chapstick and or let's just say lip balm. He said he uses stuff year round, but he feels that if he doesn't use the actual lip balm all the time, that something's going to he feels like to keep his lips hydrated. The question being, is that addictive to your lips, and what do you suggest to use? Because I know there's a lot of like the beeswaxes and the
More
a lot of
natural,
people use Vaseline. What are your thoughts on, for lack of a better word, lip products that keep them hydrated in the winter and off times, and even during, let's be honest, like high wind stuff? A lot of riders use it.
Yeah, so I actually, your lips are actually more sensitive than other membranes of your body, like specifically your skin. So they can actually sunburn even more easily. So I would say that it's just as important to have some kind of lip protection on. So using some type of lip balm would be appropriate. I do know that some of the products out there have an acid in them, and what it actually does is it can kind of help break down the dead skin that's on the outside of your lips. So I think that can make your lips maybe even more sensitive. So if you stop using it, then you're going to notice that they feel drier because of the way that it sloughs off the dead skin on your lips.
that makes sense.
That is awesome information.
Yeah, I would say that as you're not using it though, you would just get accustomed to it and your lips would feel normal again.
Okay.
That's a great question,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I think
love
so
that.
too. I think that, and that's great information, Jeremy. Thank you. We had one, I would love to know about this. A listener wants to know, why is prescription weight loss medication regulated, but over-the-counter weight loss stuff is not regulated? Does that mean that these prescription medications are safer and have fewer side effects? I love that question. I would love to know that. And what are their names and where can we get them? Anyways.
I actually think that there might be a link. There's kind of a connection between weight loss, over-the-counter products, that they're not regulated because it's a natural product. So it's labeled as a natural product, and it doesn't have to have nutritional facts on the back of it.
Okay.
But this also spins off into things like energy drinks, because a lot of them have the exact same supplements that are in them. You'll see like caffeine, green coffee bean, guarana, I think is another one that I see in them a lot.
Okay.
A lot of these products, they're just not followed by FDA. And then if it's marketed as like a natural product, dietary supplement, then they don't have to necessarily disclose how much of certain ingredients they're putting in it.
Wow. Okay.
So I would say that maybe on the OTC side, it's just not even looked at. So they could be safe or they could not be safe. I remember a few years ago there was a over-the-counter product, I think it was called ephedra, if I remember, which was pulled from the market because there were a couple of deaths that they found that they thought they were related to it. I think a Minnesota Vikings football player actually might have been one of the people who died, and they were using one of these products. I've also seen some stories of military people using this too, and one had a stroke, and so he's basically disabled the rest of his life based on this product. So it was pulled from the market.
Wow.
So sometimes when you're off in that dietary supplement realm, FDA doesn't get involved unless something significant happens like that.
Okay.
So I would say that there could be a risk to OTC, actually not OTC because OTCs are regulated, but natural supplements.
Okay.
On the prescription side, there are side effects, and they feel that you should be followed by a doctor to kind of monitor you.
Okay.
So that's really the difference between having a medication weight loss that's prescribed by your doctor versus a natural supplement, is that they know that there's known side effects, and they're going to follow you, and they're going to watch you, and they're going to keep their eye on you. All these products are stimulants, so they're going to cause your vessels to constrict. They can increase your blood pressure. So if you're at risk for something like heart disease or you have issues like that, then all stimulants can affect you in some form, depending on how much you take.
Okay.
Here's a question that I want to ask. Let's say a doctor prescribes for one said patient some medications. This patient then obviously goes and gets it filled at their local place where they get it filled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The person behind the counter, the pharmacist, I'm using this as a hypothetical example here. We're not playing doctors, but I'd like to know this because someone asked us this and I figured I'd ask it like this and kind of paint the picture. The pharmacist notices that what has been prescribed by the doctor it's causing the actual patient who's taking it a little uniqueness. They're not gelling properly.
Okay.
What would you suggest to that patient? Do you, as the pharmacist, tweak it, or do you suggest that they go back to the doctor? And I know this is probably multi-level and depending upon what is being said and what is being prescribed. But what is your thought on that, Jeremy? I'm kind of curious because there are people that are affected by this.
And part of that, are pharmacists even allowed to?
That's a great question.
To one, either tell the patient
Mm-hmm.
this will, because some patients are on multiple drugs, and
You're right. That's
and
what I'm saying.
it might be an interaction. Are you allowed to speak up and say that, or are you allowed to tweak it on your end? I would assume you'd have to talk to the doctor, right?
Yeah, so absolutely, we'd have to talk to the doctor about it. We cannot change anything on a prescription that a doctor has written. So I can't just change a dose on somebody's blood pressure medication
Awesome.
Okay.
on my own. I would have to reach out to a physician to either get a new order for that. Likely in a community pharmacy sense, I would probably refer somebody to their physician about it.
Okay.
Now, if they're taking a brand new medication, and what we see is something that we expect to happen, like, for example, a blood pressure medication called a beta blocker, metoprolol would be a good example. We know that it can make you feel more tired. And what it does is it keeps your heart from beating too fast. So if you start going outside and you're doing some landscaping or working around the house, it's going to keep your heart rate from going too high up. Well, what that can do is kind of just make you feel more tired. Well, some of those side effects can kind of dwindle away over 2 or 3 weeks. And so I might have somebody say, hey, it doesn't seem like it's that big of an issue. If you're comfortable with it, I would continue taking the drug a little bit longer and seeing if that gets better.
Okay.
And then if they take that advice and they do that and it gets better, then great. Or if it's so uncomfortable that you need something done now, then I would refer them to their doctor.
Okay.
But I would tell them not to stop taking the medication too, because some you have to titrate off it.
Okay. I because of having children, and you too, I'm curious to know a lot of children's medications come in liquid form. Can you tell us the best way to measure liquid medicine? Is it why are there only, the measuring cups? Why does it say only use, like Advil, for example, only use the Advil measuring cup? What's the matter with the regular dosing syringe thing?
Sure,
if you
no, I'm
want
with
to,
you, yeah.
know what I mean? Why?
Yeah.
Why do they ask that? And what is the best way to measure liquid?
Yeah, so to handle this question, I'd like to state what is the wrong way to handle it for sure.
Okay.
And that is to use anything that has no measuring marks on it. So if you're
Okay.
using just like a regular at home, you pull out of the drawer your teaspoon or
Yeah.
a tablespoon, those are not exact measurements. So I would never, ever use anything that's unlabeled to give medication to a child ever.
Okay.
Now, my personal favorite is a syringe. And it's actually probably more important to use a syringe the younger a child is, because it's just imagine having like a dose cup and you're trying to pour this liquid into a baby's mouth. It's not going to work very well.
Right.
Or a syringe, you can stick it in their mouth anywhere you want to and dispense the medication. For an infant, they say to dispense it down the cheek. So I would put the syringe in the mouth and then try to squirt it down the cheek.
That's what I do too. Then they can't spit it out as easy or choke on it.
So I would recommend a syringe, but the little dose cups that have the ml markings on it are perfectly fine too. I would
Okay.
use either of those. I use a syringe still on my 3.5-year-old. He could probably take a little dose cup, but I would still use a syringe.
Good point.
Absolutely.
Plus, they get it all out. In the cups sometimes, because most medicine doesn't taste great. They drink it and put it back down, and you still see, you still got a little bit in there. So I think that's a good point. We do that too. But I was
Yeah,
just curious,
absolutely.
especially when they say don't use any other dosing cups, and I think it's the same measurement regardless. I think as long as it is marked, I think that's a very good point. Don't ever grab just a spoon. That's quite
And
scary.
that does happen. Don't ever grab a spoon, not a regular spoon.
No, that is scary.
And really, I would like to speak to maybe Tylenol just for a moment.
Sure,
is that even though it's over the counter and it's labeled as really safe, there's actually a good proportion of people who come to hospitals, and they're having some kind of acute liver issue. It could be from taking too much Tylenol.
Wow.
Good
So
point.
as far as the FDA recommends is 3,000 milligrams of Tylenol. You shouldn't go over that in a day.
So wait,
So
so
that's
how
just
did
one thing.
that? And I've never heard of that. Could you expand on that one a little bit, because that tons of people use Tylenol.
Yeah.
So can you expand on that a little bit, Jeremy? On just to kind of give us a little more history on that and educate us a little bit on that.
Yeah, so basically with Tylenol, probably the most important one to really think about over the counter, because everybody does use it, is that it's broke down in the liver, and I believe it's called NADD that is in your liver that helps break that down. And as it's breaking Tylenol down, it gets depleted. Well, once that gets depleted, it then can start damaging your liver. So if you take too much of it, then it's going to injure your liver in some form, whether it's temporary or more permanent. Depends on how much Tylenol you taken and if you went and got help or not. So it's always usually the Tylenol products you usually see are 325 milligrams, 500 milligrams. So just know if you're taking a 500 milligram tablet, you only need to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 is your limit. You don't want to take more than 6 a day. Now, there's a lot of over-the-counter cough medicines. They're going to have some form of Tylenol in them too. Then you have to also include those when you're trying to add that number up. The generic name for Tylenol is acetaminophen, and that's in a lot of products. So you should always watch that. And if you suspect an overdose with acetaminophen, then you should for sure seek medical attention right away.
That
Very
is
good point.
awesome information. A lot of us, including myself, I mean, you hear different things and stories related to all particular medicines, and,
Right.
and that is awesome. What is?
Oh, and I actually have one more thing I want to add to
Sure,
that.
please.
Is that alcohol depletes the same thing in the liver. So if say you've been, it's the weekend and you were binge drinking or something, and the next morning you wake up and you're like, oh, I got a headache, I got a hangover, and you want to take Tylenol, don't take Tylenol, because that makes it even more dangerous then.
More junk food for liver. Yeah.
That probably just saved a bunch of people right there. No, I'm being
Yeah,
serious,
it
because
is.
think about how many people may have just had a couple of cocktails, but they just for whatever reason have now woken up with that headache. Think about how many people, and I know there's people listening right now and viewing. That's what I do. I go
Yeah.
right to the cabinet and I take a Tylenol.
Yeah.
Or I take wow, that's awesome information.
I remember it hasn't been too long ago since they kind of redid the recommended amounts for Tylenol, right? I mean, I remember when they changed all the labeling. The children's Tylenol specifically is what I recall.
Yeah.
So I remember when they did that. We have a listener that had asked this question a couple times ago with Cindy, so I need to make sure we get it in. This guy has a wart on his hand that has been there for some time.
Okay.
Should he see his doctor prior to using an over-the-counter product, or should he try the over-the-counter stuff before seeing his doctor? And is there anything that you specifically have used or recommended to somebody else that you would recommend to this gentleman?
Yeah, so absolutely. There are different types of warts. There are some that are more superficial, and then there are plantar warts, which actually grow deeper down into your skin, which may be more difficult to remove. But if it's a really big wart, you've had it for a really long time, and it might be best to go to the doctor to have that removed. One over-the-counter product that you could try first, if you feel like you can try it, and the worst thing that's going to happen probably is that it just won't work.
Okay.
And that's it's called Compound W Freeze Off. There may be some generic versions of that, but I have specifically used that myself. And basically what it does is it freezes the wart, and then it just goes away.
Oh, that's good.
And I have used that. It's worked fabulous whenever I have used it before. So that's probably the product I would recommend first. There are some other products out there that have salicylic acid in them, and they're supposed to eat the wart away over time. So you have to use them for a couple months, and you're putting it on twice a day, and you're keeping it covered, and it starts to burn and hurt after a while. I've actually used that product too. That was the first product I tried, and I just feel like maybe for a minor superficial wart that would be okay. But I tell you what, I've used that Compound W Freeze Off, and it works so fabulous that I'm going to reach for that every time.
Well, that's good. Good to know. Hopefully that'll work for him. And if not, again, call your
Yeah.
doctor. You know, at least it's nice to try something first rather than going into the doctor over it. But if it doesn't work, give this over the counter a try. If it doesn't work, go to your doctor. See if they can get it taken care of.
I love this next question we're about to ask Jeremy here on Younger Life. Rick and Mary, of course. This is a great question. Simple. Wives' tale, true or false? Are Q-tips bad for the ear? So, like, in other words, and I love that because there are a lot of people that refuse to use a Q-tip because they say you can't put it in your ear because of the canal and you might do damage. And then there's a number of us, including myself, every day when I get out of the shower, I am gently utilizing Q-tips in my ears. Can you talk about that a little bit, Jeremy?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm in the same boat as you. I basically gently use Q-tips probably every day. Now, I do hear that they are only indicated to use in the outer ear. Really, ultimately, one of the main concerns would be is that you could rupture a membrane, your eardrum if you went in too far, or if it got jabbed in there somehow. Ultimately, I would just be really careful with the Q-tip.
Yeah.
Yes, you could hurt yourself with a Q-tip. Yes, you should be careful with it. Should you not use one at all? It really is going to be a personal preference.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're going to rupture your eardrum, then don't use one.
You know, I know.
I feel like I use it safe. I do know you could push some earwax maybe further into the ear canal. That would be a risk. I haven't had any issues myself though. So
I know in our house, I mean, I use Q-tips too.
Absolutely.
And even on the kids, my rule has always been the kids are not allowed to do that.
Agreed.
Because they might accidentally trip, fall, stumble, or just go too deep, and I don't want to damage their, I wouldn't want them to rupture anything either. But I mean, just to clean, especially just right there,
the
you
outside,
need
like Jeremy
to.
was saying.
I
But
think
you would
it's
be
just
surprised, and I bet you Jeremy runs into this. You'd be surprised at how many people refuse.
Right,
I mean, how many
right.
times, and I've noticed this even as getting that question. I thought back as a young kid in school where the guy next to you, the kid that's sitting next to you in the chair, you turn to them, and they have got, and I'm not trying to be weird. This is an adult show, with a little family twist, but you see earwax is just,
I know.
and it's like, okay, so where do you cross that line? The other thing is, speaking of that, people sometimes, Jeremy, use those kits, and I'm just asking this because I feel that we're tying it in. They use those earwax kits where you tip your ear and then
Hot wax or
hot
whatever it
wax,
is.
all kinds of stuff, right? The kettles. Do those things? Should we not use those? Should we stay away from those for those that may have earwax problems? That's a good question, and that's a good input.
yeah, so I believe there's an over-counter product called Debrox, I believe, that actually can kind of break that down. And so it is indicated to put in the ear to help break up earwax, and you can use that. I don't have much experience with using like hot wax put in my ear or anything like that. I don't know much about that. I would probably stay away from that, and I would go with the appropriately indicated product for that, which will help dissolve that, and you should be able to just tip it out and hopefully clean your ear out.
Perfect.
One thing about Q-tips on children, I actually try to avoid using Q-tips on my children. The big difference is that when you're using it on your own ear, you can maybe feel if you're getting into a tender spot or something like that, and to just pull out. But if you're working on somebody else's ear, you could do too much all at one time and really injure somebody's ear. So like for my kids, unless it's right there on the outside, I try not to use Q-tips at all.
That's pretty much where we
just
use
my-
it.
Yeah.
Though, is right there towards the outside.
Great
Yeah.
input on that, Jeremy. Thank
absolutely.
you so much.
We had a woman, and I actually am in the same boat as this, that she's actually asking about bug spray. So she wants to know if she's shopping for a bug spray for her 3-year-old daughter that has very sensitive skin. What should she look for? I have a 4-year-old he breaks out, he gets hives over everything. So that's really tough. And what would you recommend bug spray? And I mean, is it safe to use bug spray? This is my question now. Is it safe to use bug spray on the kids every day?
Well, first off, bug sprays are followed by the FDA. They are approved to be safe and effective on kids.
Okay.
So I would say that it's okay to use bug spray on them. There are ones that are specifically for family use and are for kids. Now, the main difference between some of the family use ones are the ones for kids and also the ones that are more for adults is a concentration of the active ingredient, which is called DEET.
Okay.
So I would always at least, I would know which.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, which product to use. He just, he's there right now. It's us live here on Younger Life. And so the question was, go for it again. Repeat that question about
Well, the question was, is it safe? So he was saying, I was saying, is it safe for children? And what would you recommend for a kid with sensitive skin? This woman has a 3-year-old daughter that has sensitive skin. And he said that there are those deemed for family or children's use. And that's
Perfect.
what's important because that is based on how much the active ingredient DEET is in them. So,
Sure.
you know, labeling is important. And you know what's awesome? He's just such a great example of ask your pharmacist. If you're shopping at a local little pharmacy and you're looking at bug sprays, grab a couple and go ask the pharmacist.
I agree
mean,
100%.
Every one of them, big stores, little stores, they all have a consultation area. You go, I have no problem going up and asking. You know what I mean? I think you need to. And they're so full of information. This is what they go to school for. They want to share that. And, you know, Jeremy's done a great job of that today. You know, explaining things and answering things that we're just throwing at him, and that's nice. And Cindy does too, you know. And we're always learning, that's for sure. But I think it's important to use that resource that you have. Again, that's a free resource. Use that. You know?
I love the questions that come in because some of them you might think, you know, like I'll give you the great example. The one after having a few cocktails, and then down in Tylenol. A lot of people, I'm telling you right now, probably learned from just that one. You know, also the Q-tips and some of these other things that are out there. I mean,
the
these
word
are
thing. I mean, I hope that works for that guy.
Right,
that stinks. You know what I mean? So
I think that's awesome that if you ask the questions, we will get you answers or at least point you in the right direction. And this is what we love about this segment. Ask the Pharmacist. Now, it's every other week.
Every other Thursday.
So this is going to be great. So, you could, send your questions in whenever you want. You could email those. You could, send them in. We would love to have that showcased here on the Younger Life Live show.
I just got touch base with. Why don't we go ahead and have him call us in just so we can at least thank him as we wrap up the hour. And
that's perfect. Are you here, Jeremy?
Hello?
Hey,
Hello.
Jeremy, how
Okay,
are
good
you?
deal.
Woo-hoo! Listen, you are absolutely awesome, and we were kind of rounding it out. Can you finish your thought on the DEET part of the spray? We've got about a minute left of the show, literally. Can you kind of wrap it up? And we so appreciate your time today.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, family repellents have less amount of DEET in it. So I'd say between 7 and 15%. I would stay definitely on a lower percentage. I think some of the deep woods off have all the way up to maybe 60 to 70%. So I would try to maybe avoid that chemical, or at least have least amount of exposure as what you need. Also to throw out is there are a lot of natural essential oils that do have insect repellent abilities. Some of those could be tea tree oil, cinnamon oil, rosemary oil, and lemon oil. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch more that you could use maybe a more natural product.
Okay.
I try to conserve how much insect repellent that I use on my kids. So I try to get them out to play like more during the day.
Yeah.
And when it starts getting dark out or more shady, then we'll start kind of pulling them in.
Yeah, sounds good. Jeremy, thank you so much for
You've been
joining
awesome.
us
Big round
today.
of applause,
Really,
Jeremy.
all the information,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Great.
We appreciate it.
Listen, we'd love to have you back.
And for
keep
those
up
of
the good
you,
work.
for those of you that we didn't get to your questions, don't worry, I'm saving them for next time.
All right. So on behalf of us all at Younger Life, we'd like to thank first off Jeremy and all the great folks. Tomorrow we're going to hone in on some real neat things. Let's kind of
Tomorrow we're going to air the piece that we did with the LaPorte County Public Library, the mobile unit. So
be awesome.
It was a great time. So
and
definitely
then
stay tuned.
Monday, as we start off the week in style, it's back. It's Jenny. It's Jackie. It's Dwayne.
Yep.
The challenge is up there. You make sure you have a great weekend.
You too.
And thanks for tuning in. I'm Rick Federici.
I'm Mary Anthony.
AM 1420, WIMS, Michigan City, a Girard Media Company station.
CBS News, I'm Steve Kathan. The government's out with new rules to rein in a fairly new and multi-billion-dollar industry, e-cigarettes. We're live in Washington with CBS's Barry Bagnano.
Approval is being required for all e-cigarettes introduced since February 2007. Ingredients must be revealed. And Health and Human Services Secretary Sylvia Burwell says on Twitter health warnings are being added.
Consumers will gain access to information, and risks associated with these new products will be easier to understand.
Sales to people under 18 are banned. Robin Koval, head of the anti-smoking group Truth Initiative, says this major regulation goes beyond e-cigs.
We finally have all combustible products, cigars, hookah, under FDA jurisdiction, as well as e-cigarettes.
Steve?
Presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump tells CNBC there are a lot of names that surface as he thinks about a possible running mate.
I've had great support from Rudy Giuliani. I've had great support from Chris Christie, Dr. Ben Carson.
CBS's Bob Schieffer says the idea of Trump leading the Republican ticket has a lot of veterans in the GOP still scratching their heads.
When somebody wraps up the nomination, you see party leaders the next day saying, thank goodness, now we can unify. Yeah. What people are saying this morning is, oh my God, what have we done here?
A British newspaper is out with the images and sounds of this week's ISIS attack in Iraq that killed an American. CBS's Heather Bosch.
The scene captured in cell phone video obtained by The Guardian. Gunfire almost constant. ISIS forces had penetrated Peshmerga lines, the Kurds and their American advisors under attack. Run! A U.S. quick reaction force, including Navy SEAL Charles Keating, rushed in to help. It was during this operation Keating was struck by direct fire. He was quickly medevaced out, but did not survive.
Out of work NFL quarterback Johnny Manziel appeared in a Dallas courtroom today to face domestic violence charges. An ex-girlfriend alleges he hit her and threatened to kill her. The former Heisman Trophy winner gave simple answers to the judge's restrictions for his release on bond. Got a problem with your bank over your mortgage or credit card? Under the law now, the bank can choose the arbitrator to settle things. Julia Duncan with the American Association for Justice says consumers only win 9% of the time.
If they lie to you or steal from you, you can never hold them accountable in court.
But that could be about to change. The government's proposing to make it easier to go to court instead of arbitration.
What they're doing will, I think, put a stake in the heart of arbitration.
Financial services lawyer Alan Kaplinski says the new rules would be bad for banks, but might not help consumers much since they would have to join a class action lawsuit and not